is Jessica Webster.
And this is Sam Pogue of the Fitness Break Room podcast. Sit back, take a well-deserved break, and learn about the journey that helps shape the most successful fitness professionals in the industry today.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fitness Break Room podcast. I am joined today by Rachel Bakovec, a friend of mine, who is the Latin coordinator for the Houston Astros. Not only that, but she is the first female strength conditioning coach in all of pro sports and Major League Baseball. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. I'm really happy to be in this like utopia of all utopias on it, and hanging out with the unicorn himself, Sam Pogue. So
it gets better and better each time, right?
It really does. It really does.
We just spent the weekend together here for the Jim Jones women's certification, and Rachel was able to fly in and take a couple days off to join us. And every time she comes to On It, it's like your third time now. Mm-hmm. It's just this like it keeps going. There's more to it than just what you see on Instagram. And she's like, what the hell?
It absolutely. I don't think there's anything like it. There can't be.
I don't think so.
There's
either.
nothing this weird.
Yeah.
And awesome.
It's fake. I mean, it's just all for show.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I found an article online, I think it came through my Facebook feed, that was you writing about, I'm a size 12, I'm 175 pounds, and I am not overweight. Mm-hmm. And I found that super inspiring. I think that's really great. And for me, also being a baseball fan, I thought it was really great that you found yourself in an all-boys club, and an old boys club, as they say, in baseball, and as a female. And so I was like, wow, not only that, but she has a really awesome message to share. And I sent her an email. I literally just opened up an info email and sent it to her, and we connected on Skype. And a year later, we're now sitting down doing a podcast together.
Here we are. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's something I do like touching on. I want to touch on the article that you read, because I love that that's how you found me. I don't think I really knew that until this weekend is what you actually told me. But I regularly try to post like my weight and my size and my age on my social media handles. Not that I have this giant following, but I think it's like the hidden numbers and things that people regularly say like, oh, I don't want to ask you your age, but like, do you mind me asking how much you weigh, or do you mind me asking your age or whatever? And I'm like, yup, I just want to get a tattoo on my forehead, even though they change, so it's not possible. But it's like, I'm like, yeah, there's no shame. Like I have zero shame in those numbers, partly because I just don't, and that's something that I've worked on over the years, but also because I would be fucked if I had to like put my worth in the scale, because I lift heavy weight. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of muscle, which means I weigh 175, give or take a few pounds. And if I was like, oh, I got to be at 130, I would literally have to starve myself. I don't even know what I would do. I'd be like bones. So I'm tall. I was a college athlete. I consider myself a current athlete right now, and I'm training that way. And so that's part of the game. Like, you're going to have muscle, or you should have muscle. And so I'm going to weigh a lot. And I just turned 30, and I feel freaking happy about that. It's like, I'm like, damn, I'm 30, and I'm like, I'm training to become a professional athlete, and I'm lifting weights. Like, I feel good about that, and there's no shame in that. And everyone ages, everyone.
Yeah.
So
even me.
So I just think, going back, I just think it's funny, like, people get wrapped up in any number. And so I just try to, like, outwardly put numbers out there that most people hide or would want to hide.
And what made you want to start doing that? Like, what was your, like, did you have an aha moment where it was like, this needs to get out there, or I need to do it for me?
Well, actually, I was working this, not necessarily when I sent that blog out, but I was working at Lululemon, I think, and there's some kind of like big article that came out about Lululemon and how they cater towards smaller people and all this stuff. And I was working there at the time, and I love their stuff. I'm wearing some leggings right now. I love their stuff. I'm a size 12 at Lululemon, and I was like, I don't think that's true at all. And I was just like, no, like, they cater to athletes. And I was like, I think I wrote a Facebook post at the time, and I was like, just so everyone knows, like, all this Lululemon stuff that's coming out about everyone's hating on Lululemon and boycotting and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm a size 12 and I fit into their shit, and I like don't care. Yeah. Putting it out there, like, I'm proud of, I've worked counterintuitively. Most women work to get rid of their thighs, or to, right. I shouldn't say most women, some women work to get rid of their thighs and to get rid of this and that. And I work to get my legs bigger. And like, if I go up in weight, I'm like, hell yes, like, that's awesome. So it's just really, I think, empowering young women, which is my overall message, empowering young women my age, even older women, to really like take ownership and pride in having a healthy body, whatever that might mean for you. And I don't ever want to fat shame, as people say, but it's really like, for me, it's more like health shaming. Like, I don't care what kind of healthy you are, just be healthy. So like taking ownership of your body, and also then, you know, taking pride in that. If you've worked to a healthy state in your mind, take pride in it. For me, that's being big.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm proud of it.
Big is beautiful, right?
Yeah. Depending on if you're healthy and you're big, hey, great.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and clearly like very much of an athlete. So you played softball in college, but you're training to be a professional athlete now.
Yes.
What are you playing?
Beach volleyball. And I am in the very infant stages of that, like relatively speaking. So I'm not competing in any kind of professional tournaments at the moment, but I'm just starting out. Like, I'm taking lessons with a private coach. I'm training basically when I'm in Florida, not in the Dominican. When I'm in Florida, I'm on the courts at least 5 times a week, and just working my ass off, and also getting my ass kicked.
Yeah.
Every day.
So what does that look like from a fitness level? Like, is softball harder? Is volleyball harder? Like, you know, is it a lot of carryover?
There's carryover in the overhead aspect, that I can hit a ball really hard. Right now I have no idea where it's going, so that's a problem.
Yeah.
But I can hit the volleyball hard. So as soon as I do figure it out, it's just gonna be straight up like Meet the Parents style, like breaking people's noses, I think. I'm still waiting for that. Usually it just goes out of bounds. So, I mean, volleyball's harder cardiovascular wise. Softball is probably a little bit more like finite skill sport. They're just different, you know. I enjoy volleyball. It's a fast-paced game. There's only 2 people on the court, and so, I mean, it's tiring, like physically tiring, so you feel like you got some work in. My training has completely changed. Since I'm on the court 5 nights a week, I'm out there for 2 to 3 hours at a time. I've lessened the weightlifting that I do, so I have to really be efficient with what I'm doing in the gym to make sure I'm still, like, I just hit a PR the other day here at On It, at the Jim Jones Women's Seminar, shameless plug. And I just hit a PR here, but I'm lifting less than I ever have. So I just have to be more efficient, smarter with my training in the gym to make sure I'm still like making gains or doing what I want to do to be good on the court. So it's been definitely like a shifted mindset when I actually was like, okay, I'm going to start training for this. So.
And why volleyball?
I was a loser when I first moved to Florida and I had no friends. So I joined a meetup group. And it was kind of like, if you don't know what Meetup is, it's like Tinder for friends. Like it's an app where you basically put in your interests, and so I put like outdoors and sports, and volleyball popped up, and I was like, oh, this is fun. I was like, okay. So I was like, maybe I'll meet some people active, you know? So I went out and played like 6-on-6, like, you know, it was like jungle, like beer volleyball, there's people drinking and stuff. And I was like, this is fun. And I was like, okay. And then like 2 weeks later, I was like, I'm going to kill you. Like, I was so competitive. So I was like, this isn't fun. Like, I'm going to kill you. So I basically just kind of, from there, very long story. This is another like story of perseverance, you could say, because beach volleyball is only 2 people on the court. And so you can't like have a novice with you. They can't blend in. And so in order to even break into like where I was even allowed to play with like the good people who would play at a later time away from the meetup people, they don't play together, right? Like they're not allowed to play together because meetup people would just die in a regular game. So, I mean, I just sat there like for several months. I would just sit there on the side of the courts and watch them, and like basically they would ignore me. Like it was in school, you know, when you're like the last person to get picked and then you're the last person and they're like, oh, sorry, we have full teams now, bye. So that's how it started, kind of. But then over time, I would shag for them. I would shag their volleyballs, and I would get in drills when I could. And basically I was just like the ball shagger and like basically the water boy, essentially, like, you know, until they let me on the court a few times. And now, such a long story and also a very good one, but I was training with a 16-year-old high school beach volleyball team. Wow. Which is funny because I'm a 30-year-old woman, and I'm sure the parents are like, what the hell is that woman doing out there in the courts with her kids? So I was humbled, or not humbled, but I took the humble approach of like, all right, I can't get on the court with these women who've played for 15 years. Like, I need to go on my level. So I was playing with 16, 17, 18-year-olds this spring. I was doing that 3 times a week, driving 45 minutes down to Boca. And then finally, I'm like kind of getting a little momentum. I'm still getting my ass kicked, but at least they're letting me play. So
That's awesome. But just like any other sport, you have to take your licks. Like, you know, I mean, I think, and whether it's the millennial generation or not, it's like when you were a freshman, did the seniors haze you on the softball field in both high school and college? But then I always tell our interns and the young kids, it's like, well, when you're a senior and you're the one doing the hazing, did you end up befriending and putting the freshman under your wing, the one that took it and listened and just went about it? Or did you do the one that like always, smarted off and basically gave you a big fuck you to you?
yeah, I mean, I like, and it's really what you just said. It's perspective. Are they hazing you or are they pushing you?
Yeah.
So if it's true hazing, I mean, I actually was never like hazed per se.
Like no drinking goldfish or like running around
No drinking
campus naked.
goldfish. No, none of that that I can remember.
It's weird because I didn't play a college sport. Whatever.
None of that, but like being pushed and razzed and teased and all that stuff. And it's like you take the perspective of I'm getting bullied or I'm getting pushed. And the old thing of like, if they weren't pushing you, if they weren't kind of getting after you, they wouldn't, that means they probably don't care about you.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like with anything else. And now it's like I'm a 30-year-old woman. I'm playing with a lot of other girls that are my age and they're kind of mean to me sometimes, but it's good. And I realize like I take the perspective of like, no, tell me when I suck. Tell me when I wasn't in the right spot in the court. Tell me, like, I want to know these things. Right. And if you don't tell me, I don't get better. So, I mean, I think it's just all in the perspective you take.
Yeah.
So.
Do you get that? I mean, moving gears a little bit, do you get that in the professional world, right? And so, and there might be things you're not able to say, and that's okay. But you're the only woman in not only pro sports in that level, but a male-driven sport of baseball.
Yeah. Do I get that? Like, yeah. I mean, if the players, and there are plenty of players who hate me because I'm like, or whatever. There are plenty of players who don't do this, but it's also like, yeah, if they joke with me, they razz with me. I always kind of say, people might look from the outside and go, oh, some of the things they say around me, if you didn't know the context, you'd be like, like that's right. So offensive. Or like even them sharing stories about, their escapades at the bar or their, with women or this or that. Like you could easily get offended about it. But in my eyes, kind of, it's like the biggest show of respect because at that point I've just become like asexual. They're like, oh, you're not a girl, you're Rachel.
Right, right.
It's like, okay, I can talk about, going home with a girl last night in front of you. And even though it's not my favorite thing to hear and I don't promote that with them and I'm trying to teach them to be like upstanding young men. But, if they talk about it in front of me, I'm like, okay, then that means that they've accepted me into their like ecosystem.
Yeah.
So as far as razzing me, like I'm getting to the point where I'm a little bit older than at least most of the players. So them razzing me doesn't really happen anymore. But like I said, just being open with me is a sign of respect and joking with me and kind of quote unquote one of the boys. That's again, like I said, it's the perspective you take, and I take it to be a good thing. Yeah, so.
It's also gotta be tough when you're a high level draft pick and you're supposed to be this alpha athlete, and then they miss their deadlift attempt, and then you walk over and clean it to put it in the rack for them so they can front squat. And they're like, and just watch their ego just get deflated bad. And they're like, oh, cool, all right, well, neat. My coach has, cool.
Well. Yeah, but also I think again, I guess I just take the perspective of like, that's good. We were deadlifting on, let's say it was a Tuesday, and the day before I had posted a video of my own deadlift and it was more than this player. This player comes up to me and he's like, I'm not deadlifting today. And I was like, what, are you hurt? I was like, what's wrong? And he was like, no, like you gotta post a video of yourself deadlifting more than me the day before we're gonna deadlift in the gym. Like he's like, come on, that's just like, I felt like it was a personal attack. I'm like, I didn't do that on purpose, but and obviously I think more than anything, especially being a woman, I mean, there's most of my players, thank God, outlift me. I'd be a little concerned if that wasn't the case, but I still outlift like a lot of the younger players, some guys who are working on movement, as we've discussed, I still outlift quite a bit of them. And so I take it as like, hey, I can show these guys that I'm trained to be an athlete.
Yeah.
I'm training hard. I'm not telling them to do one thing, doing a different thing. I mean, I posted on my Instagram. I like it when players follow me on Instagram because they can see like, this is my life. I'm going on a hike. I'm lifting. I'm going to a women's seminar in Austin. Like I'm doing these things. This is who I am. I want them to know who I am. And I guess draw inspiration or draw, someone to look to as an example from me as well, even though I'm a woman and they're young men. But, so I don't mind any of that. And
yeah.
I hope that it doesn't deter, like you said, hurt their ego to the point of deterring them from wanting to work with me. I don't think that's the case most of the time.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, I'm not lifting that much.
I mean, you're lifting a fair amount. I mean, you cleared the 300 number on the deadlifts yesterday, fresh off an airplane. So, there's a lot of men out there that can't do that are trainers in the fitness community. Real quick, who do you work with? Just so that way everybody else knows. I mentioned you were the Latin coordinator. What does that mean?
So I work for the Houston Astros. I'm hired as the Latin American Strength and Conditioning Coordinator for them. So basically, crash course in baseball for anyone out there who doesn't know about professional baseball. We've got the Major League team, which is who you see on TV. And then most teams have anywhere from 7 to 10 minor league teams. And so that just means, like, you probably heard of AAA ball or you've seen Bull Durham, but there's also AA, single A, 3 rookie teams. And then we actually have 2 teams that are functioning out of the Dominican Republic. They're playing league right now in the DR, and every single baseball team has at least one team functioning in the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
So most people have no idea of that whole, like, it's just the iceberg below the water.
These guys don't just go fresh from the island to Major League Baseball, huh?
No. Okay. No. We sign them when they're 16. So a major part of my job, as I view it, is like development, and I like to call it the incubator. Like, these kids just come to us signed when they're aged usually 16. The oldest we sign them is 18. But usually they're 16. Some of them don't have high school degrees when they come to us. They're coming from anywhere from Venezuela, the Dominican, Colombia, Panama. Like, they're coming from basically third world countries. And so not the greatest education all the time, not the greatest family life all the time. There are exceptions, and they're smart kids, but just they haven't had the structure probably that say you and I have had. Like, I went to a college prep high school and have 2 college degrees. Like, it's not even fair. So my job is, yes, it's physical development, but there's a humongous piece that's like mental and emotional development and teaching the basics, not only of a squat pattern, but like showing up on time and understanding progression, that you don't just jump from 135 to 315, and that's not how we do it. Like, so understanding the very basic principles, and again, just teach them how to be good young men. Like, one of our 3 principles is character. And all of our 3 principles that we talk about, discipline, education, character, are the 3 principles that I laid out to drive our actions with the Latin American Strength and Conditioning Department, and none of those have anything to do with a squat pattern. Right. So I believe that if you lay the foundation, like the mental foundation, then everything else is going to spring from that. So that's pretty much my job. I mean,
and you love fitness and obviously in your career, but that mindset piece is really important to you, it sounds like, and definitely from what we've talked about. And so that's kind of spawning, an extra piece to your life, something else that creates more fulfillment than changing people's lives. And what is that you're doing?
Yeah, so definitely. And actually, I kind of mentioned to you this earlier this morning, but I've kind of like stopped writing blogs about training and all that stuff. Like, a company just reached out to me about a week ago, a huge company that could like help me grow a following or whatever. And I'm like, that's great, but I don't want to write about a squat anymore. Like, I just told them, I was like, it doesn't really align with my content on my blog. Like, my website, you'll go on my website and be like, is this chick even a strength coach? Like, what does she do? Right. And I'm really just about like the empowerment of the human soul. Like, how can you be as good as whatever you want to do, whatever that is, how can you be at the top of it? And what does that take? What does that look like? And so basically, I mean, a whole lot of things, but it comes down to, in my mind, mentorship, like from my end, mentorship and being an idea for specifically young women, but also young people in general. Like, I get more excited nowadays when I get an email that's like, how do I get into strength and conditioning? Or I'm on my 4th internship and I need some guidance here. Like, what should I do? Yeah. Or just looking for like somebody to say, don't listen to your parents who are telling you to get a real job, do the 5th internship and go work for free and live in your car. So just basically like encouraging people, specifically young people, to do their thing. And like, if you want to do something great in life, and when I say great, I mean not normal, not average. If you want to do something that is not average, then you're going to have to take your lumps. There's no way around it. If you want to get the bank job and go be a banker for the rest of your life and do the normal thing, That's great too if that's your dream. But like that might be like, okay, I graduate college and then I go get a bank job and then I have a 401k starting when I'm 22, and that's wonderful. But Rachel Bakovec was broke until the age of 26.5 and like just, you know, so that's not the route I took. And it's like I'm still not bankrolling, and I still feel like I'm in kind of like the infantile stages or the apprenticeship phase of my career. And so, and if you want to do something great, you're going to stay in that phase for a lot longer than someone who doesn't. So someone who wants that 401k right out of school. So leading to my website really is rachelbakovec.com, is like geared towards the empowerment of young women and also young people in general. And so I've sprouted from there. I get so many emails and like questions all the time about how do I become you? How do I become, you know, how you're in your realm, like how do I work on it? How did you get here? I see you doing what you do, but I know there's something behind it. And so filling that gap, I get on so many Skype calls, phone calls, text messages, emails, whatever per week, that I just decided to create a company called the Virtual Handshake Academy. And that is everything from resume, cover letter, references, how to reach out to somebody professionally in an email, how to use your social media to leverage your professional presentation, all of those things, because I just see young people, I don't think there's a lot of guidance out there for them on those things, specifically leading to getting into the world of strength and conditioning and team sports. I think it could help anyone, but really that's what I'm gearing it towards. So overall empowering young people, but more specifically in the career realm. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, you probably aren't going to get much value from my content. But if you want to get into strength and conditioning, or you want to work for team sports, you want to do that kind of thing, then I created the Virtual Handshake Academy to kind of fill that gap of knowledge from, okay, I learned in school all of this information about my actual career field, but how the hell do I get into my career field? Yeah, because that's a big step and something that I kind of like stumbled through, but I could help a lot of people with, you know, to go a little bit quicker, I think.
So you just didn't like graduate school from Arizona State and then magically get a job offer from the Astros? You had to take some licks in the market?
Oh, good one.
Right?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Like, you know, I don't think people really appreciate the journey. And we were just joking about Mark Mason's book, right? The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yep.
And it's like, which is a lot of that. And, you know, what were the licks that you took? I mean, how'd you get to this great role with the Astros and being a trailblazer, right? The first female in Major League Baseball. Like, that was not easy. And there was definitely fights that you had to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could talk for a whole lot about my story. I could talk for a long time about that, but I'll just like quick bounce. Like I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. I played softball growing up. Softball was my ticket out of Nebraska, pretty much. I played at Creighton my freshman year in Omaha, transferred, and then got picked up at New Mexico State. And I mean, even at that time, I was very much like a wandering soul and like wanted to, you know, see the world and all that stuff. And so I remember I like MapQuested, you know, I think MapQuest was the thing. I like MapQuested from Omaha to Albuquerque. Yeah, totally. Which is fine. And it was like 1,000 miles away, and I was like, okay. And then I looked at the weather, and the weather was obviously way better than Nebraska, shocking. And then I looked up actually the ethnicity of the school too, because the school I went to in Omaha was just very not diverse. So, and it was like 50% Mexican and a quarter Native American, and I was like, hell yes. I was like, all right, 1,000 miles away from home, better weather, weird people that I don't know anything about. Like, I'm there. So I didn't even go on a visit. I just went. I just like, they were like, you want to come? Here's a scholarship, whatever. And I was like, okay, send me the papers, signed up, went.
And that's the Lobos, right?
The Lobos, yeah. So that was like the beginning of my like nomading story, which is still continuing 10 years later. So yeah, then I went from there. I got my degree there, played softball, had some struggles there, which was amazing. Led me to being a strength and conditioning coach, wanting to be in the strength and conditioning field. Did my graduate assistantship at LSU. I had to wait a year in between graduating from New Mexico and LSU, so that's another story. I worked for close to a year. I worked 3 jobs so I could save up money to go be broke again at LSU. So I like worked up the savings and then I was broke. Yeah, I mean, it's ebb and flow.
Work to be broke.
Yeah. Oh, like I knew I was going to be broke, so I worked 3 jobs, which were, just so you know, waitressing, personal training, and every other weekend I went to an older couple's home and I stayed over the weekend with them at their home. Gave up every other weekend of like, you know, 6 to 8 months or whatever it was. and I was like literally changing their diapers, like feeding them
Whoa.
at their home. Yeah. And waitressing and personal training.
So you've been on the industry side too, not to skew it, but like it hasn't all been collegiate, professional, high-level athletes. So you've been on that other side of the table.
I skipped, and I went to at Athletes Performance. I was on the private side too, and I got to see kind of that realm. So before I went to LSU, which is how I got to LSU, I was at Athletes Performance, and I was my roommate who we stayed in a little room so close. We slept in beds so close to each other we could reach out and touch each other's hands like for 3.5 months. So that ended up going really well. We're still friends. And she was like, hey, why don't you come back to Baton Rouge with me and you can meet the strength staff? And I was like, sweet, where's Baton Rouge? Like, I had no clue about LSU. That's awesome. No clue. I was like, okay, like what LSU? That sounds like it's a good school to go to. Good strength and conditioning program. Little did I know. So I went there, hit it off, and a year of changing diapers later, I went to Baton Rouge and was broke again and broke for 2 years. And just incredible experience at LSU at the time. Even like, I think where I got the whole like mindset culture piece, even though I've always been crazy my entire life, like I've always had a mindset, pretty crazy mindset, but from a coaching perspective, how to like implement that, what that looks like at LSU. I mean, at the time it was like literally just winning, just everyone was kicking ass. Every team was just doing a great job. Both baseball and softball made it to the College World Series when I was there. Football team was 13-0, like just everyone just cashing it, just killing it, you know. And so I got to see like every person, I mean, from the maintenance crew to the AD were just at the top of their game. In my mind, it wasn't every person, right? But the overall culture was just incredible. It was electric. Like you couldn't be in that culture and not raise your level because everyone around you was just up there. So expectations were high, intensity was high. I loved that. I definitely fed off of that. Simultaneously, interesting enough, I don't always like talk about this, but now that I'm older, I don't give a shit anymore. It's like I was dating a guy that I dated for 5 years. We met at New Mexico. He played baseball. I played softball, obviously meant to be. So he got drafted and was playing professional baseball. All the while I'm like going along my career path wherever I was going. He was playing minor league baseball. And so I was like learning all about strength and conditioning, all this stuff. Meanwhile, in my personal life, I was learning all about minor league baseball and the Latin American side of things. And he played winter ball in the Dominican. And like, I like got to learn all about the stuff. And I was like, this is really interesting. Like even just the business side of things was very interesting to me, and just how it all worked in this ginormous conglomerate that no one knows anything about. It's just very underground. Like the minor league system is very underground. Nobody has any clue what goes on. And so I was really interested in that. And also I was hearing his stories about like, freaking just had a hot dog for dinner. Now I got to go play a game. And we go and work out at the YMCA down the street on the road. And I'm just like, wow, strength and conditioning is like so far behind in baseball. Not even to talk bad about like the organization that he was in. It's just like the way it is kind of like the industry standard at the time. And even now it's getting a lot better, but I was just appalled. So I was like, you know what? I think I can really make an impact there. I'm interested in it. I played college softball. Like all these factors came together and I was like, I want to be in professional baseball.
What's up, everybody? Jessica here. Okay, this seems like a somewhat natural break in the show to let you in on a few things. First off, we also have a video version of every episode, so if you're not in your car or you are whatever and you like to live dangerously, you can go to fitnessbreakroom.com to see Sam and I and our lovely guests recording in LA, San Diego, New York, Austin, all the places we visit to bring you access to the break room. Secondly, we need to go in for an ask. I know it's early, but this is so important to the success of the break room. This might be more info than you want to know, but hey, maybe you're starting a podcast and want to know this. We need to hit at least 30 good reviews in our first week or so after we've launched, so it would be a huge gift to us if you could take 30 seconds to subscribe to the Fitness Break Room on iTunes and leave us a review. If that happens, there's a good chance we'll be showcased in the new and noteworthy section, and that's exactly what we need to ensure the podcast is off to a strong start. The stronger the start, the more time we can dedicate to bringing you these unique stories of fitness professionals that are just rocking this industry. If you could do that, that would be amazing. To make this ask a little bit more juicy, if you send me a screenshot of your review, I'll give you an extra entry into our monthly Fitness Industry Night giveaway, where Sam and I pick one subscriber to win hundreds of dollars worth of fitness swag every last Friday of the month. This month, it's December 2017, is a huge assortment of Onnit supplements and golden earbuds. Fancy. So you can find all that information on our homepage. And thanks to Onnit, as always, you guys rock. Love you. If you haven't entered to win this giveaway, you can go to our website, fitnessbreakroom.com, to do that. And then you can email me your screenshot of your review on iTunes at jessica@fitnessbreakroom.com, or you can hit me up on Instagram at jessicawebster_, and I'll give you that extra entry to win that awesome giveaway from our friends at Onnit. All right, that's it for me. Enjoy the rest of the show, and thanks so much in advance for your review. It means a lot to us. It really does.
So then I got on Google search again, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna Google. And I was like, where are all the women's names? You know, I was like, why can't I find, like, there's 0 women's names listed as like strength coaches in baseball? And I was like, what in the world, you know? And I basically finally dawned on me. I was like, oh, there's literally no women working in professional baseball. And it did not even occur to me. I was like, what? Like, that is so strange. Because my boss at LSU is a woman. I'm working there, obviously. I was working with baseball. I was the head strength coach over men's tennis. Like, I'm working with male athletes. Yeah. It's pretty well accepted in the college realm. You know, it's like there's female athletes around, female coaches, female, you know, trainers, everyone. And I just could not, it like literally blew my mind. I was like, what in the world? Like, what's going on? So fast forward a little bit longer. That's how I kind of got interested in it. Cardinals contacted LSU and they were like, hey, we need an intern.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, we need an intern. Do you have anyone to recommend? So Moffitt is the head guy there, and he was like, well, know this person that wants to be a strength coach, really great, really interested in baseball, was a catcher in college. Oh, and by the way, she has boobs. Like, oh, by the way, it's a girl. Like, you know, kind of drop that in there.
Just throw that.
Yeah, so fortunate enough for me, they took a leap of faith and hired me as an intern for like 3 months. I was with one of their rookie league teams in Johnson City, Tennessee, and very long story later, I was out of baseball for a year after that. Internship came to an end, and I wanted to go start a PhD at Arizona State. Moved to Phoenix, stopped that, decided I wanted to be in baseball, and then the Cardinals. Long story short, I was having trouble getting a job, and I thought it would be easy. There was a little bit of discrimination going on there, which we can go into if you want to, but that's a long story. So anyway,
we're here.
So the end of the story, the moral story is the Cardinals called me back and hired me as their full-time coordinator, which then, you know, that was the first ever like full-time strength coach, salaried, etc.
And that made the news, right? That was on ESPN, I think.
I don't know. I mean, it was covered, but yeah. I don't know about that. Anyway, so yeah, the year, but it's like, this is a good message for I think this audience to hear, is like, it's so easy to look at somebody who you want to be like and be like, oh, you know, that's what I want to do, but you don't see all the shit leading up to it. Yeah. And so for me personally, and everyone has their battles. You and I talked about this yesterday. Everyone has their battles. Like, I was discriminated against. I don't feel a need to not say it. I don't feel a need to pretend like it didn't happen. It's fine, because someone else out there is dealing with another battle. And so mine was, you know, I'm a woman and that's just not really popular. So I moved to Phoenix, and I was like, I'm going to start my PhD, start taking classes, but Phoenix is a huge baseball city. There's 15 teams that are based out of Phoenix. Their spring training facilities are there. And that means there's 15 teams that are actually functioning there year round. Right. And so I was like, no problem. There were 8 internships listed. I applied for all of them. Yeah. Heard back from only one. Mind you, this is like... Heard back from only one. And this is an internship position. I had my master's degree. At that point, I had lived in the Dominican Republic for 3 months, which I skipped in my no-betting journey. I played softball in college. I mean, I had like this great young resume for an internship. And I only even heard back from one. And I was like, okay, you know, whatever. And I'd already worked for the Cardinals, mind you. Already worked for LSU. Like, I had a great young resume. Right. One person called me back. Go through an interview process, interviewed twice, everything goes great. I'm like, all right. He's like, yeah, I think you're our dude, our girl, whatever.
Have it.
don't hear back from him for 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm like, all right, follow up. And he's like, yeah, well, ownership, whatever, got back to us and like just told us, he was like, I feel really terrible, but we're not gonna be able to hire a girl. And I was like, whoa, you literally just told me that. Like, there's no like,
It was not a buffer, just straight up because you're a girl.
Whoa, that's crazy. Like, you could make assumptions about the other ones,
right.
But so that was like right in the face. But the thing is, like, that guy wanted to help me.
Yeah.
So he felt bad, and he was like, I'm trying to like send your resume out to other people, but I'm kind of getting a lot of the same responses. It seems like you've applied for all of these jobs, and he told me a couple of organizations that just didn't want to hire a girl and all this stuff. And I was like, damn. So the cat's out of the bag. So basically that year, I just sat out of baseball and I waitressed and worked at Lululemon and went to a couple classes. But then, like I said, I stopped. That year I was waitressing, working at Lululemon, interning at Arizona State. And then later in the year, I interned for the Chicago White Sox as well. And it was rough. And that was the brokest I've ever been in my life. And basically, I mean, when the Cardinals called me and actually offered me the position, I had $14 in my bank account. So, like, I always joke, like, I made history, and then the next day I overdrafted my account.
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, Mom, Dad, like, oh my God, I got the job, made history, but like, can you lend me some money? Because I gotta get to Florida somehow, and I gotta, I was like, I can't even put gas in my car. So, like, and then from there on, it's been pretty steady, but I'm already looking at, this is another good message, like, I'm already looking at, and not a secret from anyone, but possibly going back to get another degree. And what does that mean? And do I have to leave the field for a couple of years? Do I have to take a step back,
right, in
air quotes for anyone who's listening to the podcast? Do I have to take a step back in my career? But there's no such thing as a step back. There's no such thing as like, I'm not doing well in my career or whatever. If you are, interning and really like taking the steps, like, don't be ashamed to go and clean dishes at night at a restaurant, and then intern for something that's going to get you closer to your goal and to your career. So that's like one of my main things that I always tell young people is like, work for free, man. Go find the whatever you want to do, find the best person in the world and go work for them. And if it's for free, well then great. You'll learn a lot of lessons, and you'll clean a lot of floors, and you'll do the bitch work, quote unquote. You'll do that stuff, but that's all very valuable. So find the best in the world, work for free, do what you got to do, work at wherever you have to work. Yeah. Change diapers for old people. Right. Like, do whatever you have to do to make your dream. Yeah. I mean, just think of all the jobs that I've had that like most people would be like, oh, it's like kind of a, degrading job or whatever. Yeah. It's like, who cares? I was 26 waitressing, working at Lululemon, selling leggings. And then all of a sudden I was the coordinator for the Cardinals, but it wasn't all of a sudden. That's the thing. It's like, there's no such thing as the overnight success. So most people are like, well, how the hell did you go from Lululemon or interning with the White Sox and ASU, and then all of a sudden you're the coordinator for the Cardinals, overseeing everything that's going on in their minor league operations, and it looks like the overnight success. But like, when you hear the whole thing, you're like, oh, never mind. Like,
yeah, I got a couple good jaw hits throughout that time.
Yeah,
I mean, dang. So, I mean, who are you looking to? You just mentioned having a mentor, finding the best. I know you have a pretty substantial mentor that's been really important to you in your life. Who was that, and how did you get in touch with him?
It takes a village. Well, let's just say that. So I have a ton of like mentors I consider. Chris Frankel is definitely like the dude who taught me everything in strength and conditioning. My parents, I would consider them like, they gave me every tool I needed that I needed to be successful. Yeah. Period. Like, they should write a book on child rearing. Like, I don't even know. I look back and I'm like, holy shit, everything I hated them for, I'm so glad now. Right. So glad my dad maybe washed the dishes 4 times if I didn't do it right. I'm so glad. Wow. I'm so glad that they like didn't let us watch a lot of TV, or they didn't let us, like, everything that we hated them for as kids. I'm like so glad now. So like, can't leave Jim and Bonnie out. Holla. Shout out to mom and dad. Okay, so but Chris Frankel, like strength and conditioning wise, definitely, he's currently the director of performance for TRX. I'm probably butchering that, but he is he's like the ultimate to me. He's like the ultimate guy who he's absolutely fucking brilliant. Like every time I talk to him, I'm like, I'm so stupid. Like no matter how much knowledge I have or how old I get or how far I get along my career, I'm like, I'm literally just dumb.
Yeah.
Like I'm stupid. I need to go back to school. So
hearing this for the first time. Oh my
yeah,
God.
like he's so he's constantly just like learning, reading. Like he's just an absolute brain. I think they actually call him the professor.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like he's an absolute brain. But he taught me about movement. He's the first guy who ever introduced me to movement. I was a college athlete, super, super strong. I was strong on the team, blah, blah, blah. I was very fast, even for a catcher, extremely fast, but I just had pain everywhere. And I was like, I'm a catcher. Like, my knees are supposed to hurt, whatever. And then I met him, and like literally within 3 months, he had fixed every movement problem I have and not only taught me, how, trained me, but then taught me how to do it.
Yeah.
And I still use like the principles that he taught me from 10 years ago, which is really just principles from Cook and like all of those things as well. So he definitely formed me as a strength coach. And also another aspect of him that I really like is like he was my first introduction to strength and conditioning, and he wasn't a super meathead, nor was he a super functional, like we can only train with mini bands and like lifting weights is bad for you. But he didn't choose one side. And I think that's something that's formed me too, is being diverse and having a lot of tools and not just being a guru in one area. Like I train heavy and I do Olympic lifting and I do overhead stuff and I do gymnastics and all this stuff. But I also am extremely in tune with my movement and conscious all the time about how I'm doing things. And so I think you have to be both if you want to be able to communicate effectively with every athlete and also provide every athlete what they need. So I do sometimes think like, oh, man, some people out there are just so brilliant in one area and they have a system, and it's like they've got the FRC system. Right. But are you a guru in one area at the expense of being extremely weak and not even, and almost sometimes I think there's a fear on the other end. So like I'm really great at FRC and like I can just move with the best of them and I can stand on my head and all that shit, and then I can't even like deadlift 135 pounds. Yeah. Or the opposite, I can deadlift 500 pounds, but I wake up in the morning and I have pain everywhere. Like you have to have both. So Chris is definitely the guy. Like he mentored me, and I owe him a lot of stuff. And then I've got a long list of other mentors like Melissa Bohr at LSU and Coach Hatch teaching me about Olympic weightlifting. And I mean, from a female perspective, Meg Stone, who's a professor at ETSU, she was the first head strength and conditioning coach in college in the 70s.
Wow.
So when people are like, oh, you're a pioneer, I'm like, kind of, but not really. Like she opened doors way back then. Yeah. Just kicking ass. And then Sue Falsone, she was a physical therapist in the big leagues for the Dodgers for a while. So not necessarily strength coach, but she opened doors. So from that perspective, I have a lot of people that I look to and say like, wow, they've had a major impact on me. Yeah. So. And
did you just send them an email? Like, how did you find these people?
Yeah, this is part of the Virtual Handshake Academy. Actually, is just.
It's like I knew there was a segue.
Yeah, like great job, Sam.
We've been hanging out a few days.
Part of this is like knowing how to reach out to people and find those people, and it's like. I have so Coach Hatch is a Olympic lifting coach in Baton Rouge, and he's been like the USA Olympic weightlifting coach. He's extremely like well known in the field, and I would go to his gym once a week and train with him. And he is half Native American, and he assigns what he calls basically Indian names to people. And so my Native American name from him is Stalking Moon. Because every week I would come in and I basically have a list of people, and I'd be like, okay, so I emailed this person and they got back to me and said they don't have any internships, but to follow up in October. So I'm going to follow up in October. And then I emailed this person and they said they do have an internship, but it's not paid and I don't know if I can do that. And he'd be like, God, you just like literally stalk people all the time. And so some of the things I talk about with Virtual Handshake Academy, like blogs and videos that I have out there, it's like, you need to know how to stalk people. And you can't just be like, well, it's all about who you know, and this isn't fair because so-and-so got hired because he knows that person. What if you just become the person that they know? Yeah. Like, and how do you do that? How do you become that person you know that everyone's jealous of because they know everyone? And it's like, you just stalk people. So the way I got my Arizona State, I interned for free for Arizona State 2 separate times. The first time I interned there, I just literally sent an email with my resume followed up with them several times. I was going to be in Phoenix for 4 weeks, and I was like, hey, can I come intern in your gym and just observe? Well, I went out there. At the time, I had already internship with Cardinals lined up, but like at the end of that 4 weeks, they were like, hey, are you interested in a job here? And it's like, I'm sure someone out there would be like, oh, it's just because she knows them.
Right.
Well, it's like, did that relationship just like poof out of nowhere?
Yeah.
No, you establish that relationship 1, 2, 3 years ahead of time, and then all of a sudden an opportunity comes up, and it's like, who do I know? Oh, I know that Rachel girl that's been stalking me for the past 3 years. Or like, I mean, you cold emailed me, and it's like, now we have a relationship, and so if there's ever an opportunity for us to work together in some amazing way, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Because we have a relationship, and someone's gonna be like, oh, it's just because Rachel knows Sam.
Right.
Well, we've already had a relationship for a long time, so like stalking. Writing emails is an art, and it's something that I cover the Virtual Handshake Academy. It's definitely something you can't just write an email any old way and establish a good relationship. I have people, kids, young professionals reaching out to me, and it's like, hey, comma. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Hey, like you went to my website. It's rachelbalkovec.com. Like you could coach Bakovec, even Rachel, anything. You just said, hey, comma. Like, just the way you communicate with email is just an art too. So not something that I was perfect at right away.
Right.
Something I probably stumbled through, which is why I'm creating the Virtual Handshake Academy, so other people don't have to stumble through every little step.
Yeah.
But yeah, stalking is illegal. But the stalking I'm talking about
Ryan,
is
write that down for me. Thanks.
just Sam, it's just so you can stop anytime now. That'd be nice.
There goes Friday night.
But yeah, like professionally stalking people is something that is a skill that needs to be honed, I believe.
So what you're saying is, if I sent you an email that says, Rachel, you know what the Houston Astros aren't doing is they're not taking this supplement, they're not using this training implement, and this is why you're not getting results with your athletes. That wouldn't work.
You know, you could try it, but it would probably get a giant eye roll on the other end. I would just put the eye roll like emoji like back
Even
to your
better.
email. So. Yeah.
And for the record, like our first Skype call that we had, like the conversation that we had was, well, you know, Onnit supplements aren't NSF certified, so there's not really anything I can do to help you. And I said, well, that's not my goal anyway. I'm really here. I invited you to come to a seminar and that, you know, be able to help bring you into the fold of the family, because Onnit does have a very good community and a very large network of people. And it was purely like, how can we put your name out there to lift up whatever you're trying to do. Right. And not about like, here's what you can do for us. And it was like, well, actually, what can, even though we're really big and even Fitness Break Room is, you know, Jessica and I's company, it's what can we do for her? Because I want to see Virtual Handshake get big. You
know what's so funny is like, it's the same thing. Like in the Virtual Handshake Academy, we talk about how to write a cover letter, and it's not like, a lot of cover letters I get sometimes it's like, well, I've been here and I've done this and I'm going to help the Astros do this and this is why, this is that. And I'm like, why don't you do me a favor? Like just Google the Astros, find out what they're about, and be like, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of the family. I want to help in any way I can. You already have my resume, so I don't need to know, like, I could have looked up online all the Onnit products. Yeah. So if you had gone on Skype and been like, we have this product and this product and this is the product that I want to sell and this product, like I could have Googled that. Thanks. Like, tell me something I don't know. Tell me about your community.
Right.
Tell me about what you like about me.
Yeah.
Because everyone likes to hear about themselves.
Right.
So if you're applying for a job, you know, why do you like the Astros?
Yeah.
Or whoever you're applying for,
right,
you know?
Right.
Why are you so passionate about strength and conditioning with the Astros specifically?
Yeah.
Like, don't just tell me you work hard and you like to work out. That's everyone. But did you stalk me? Because I'm an easy person to stalk.
Right.
Come on. If you didn't stalk me, like you pretty much like shouldn't even email me, you know?
That's the beauty of social media. I mean,
it's out there, man. So
and kids are so good at using it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's
I'm
like,
terrible. Like, in terms of like, oh, they want a Facebook message or Instagram message, and it's like it's hard to keep up with. And then it's like, but that's how people communicate. But it's like, I'm putting myself out there for you to find me.
Exactly.
If I didn't want you to find me, I would not have social media. Like, I want to be able to be a resource, and just like why Fitness Break Room is here is, I want to be a resource for people getting into fitness.
Yep.
And helping them sustain a career and not fall into the 75% attrition rate that most young industry trainers
crazy.
Experience.
Yeah.
And on the professional and the collegiate side, it's even, I don't know the statistic number, but it's probably even worse.
It's got to be. I don't know if there's a number out there, statistics out there, but it's got to be. It's a rough go.
Someone email in and try to find out how many graduate students with exercise science degrees graduate each year, and then we'll take a number and we'll figure out how many people get hired. New grads get hired, internships and hiring paid positions in the field, from community college to professional. I bet it's less than 5%.
Yeah, it's
probably like 1%.
It's very difficult, which is why, again, like closing that gap to me is very important. Like I think there's not an exact science, but there's a way to set yourself up for success. Yeah. Which is like the same thing we've talked about, same thing you're doing for the fitness industry as well. Like it's still gonna be hard,
right? But
there are some steps you can take to make it a little easier, a little smoother.
Right, and it's like these are the things that we've had the opportunity to learn in our career, bashing our heads against a wall continuously, being broke, right? Wondering if you're going to have, what you're going to do next, and maybe even debating getting out of the industry. I'm sure that thought popped in your head a few times. It's like maybe you want to be a traveling photographer that lives out of a suitcase and, I
think that's kind of what I already do. I mean, it's like my side job.
Right. Yeah. I'm a professional packer. I'm really good at the roll.
Oh,
put it in my shoe.
Thought about, my next course is going to be like how to nomad. Like, I swear. I mean, even though you're don't have any illusions. I've told you this, but it's like, don't have any illusions about, like, I have a salary, but I'm also sleeping on an air mattress because I'm so transient that it's like, even having a bed was like too much of an inconvenience. So I'm going to fly home tonight and kind of fill up my air mattress with some air and get some good rest.
But how liberating is that, though?
Oh, my God. So freeing. Freeing. So
because what do you do in the off season? Baseball season's done. October. Boom. And if the Astros aren't in the World Series, I want to hear.
So let's see. What on the gamut I'm going to Columbus to speak, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach to speak, and then I've got Italy, Amsterdam, France on the gamut, and then I'll fly back for a conference in Orlando, and then I fly to Laos, Southeast Asia. So I'll go to Laos, and then I'm meeting my sisters in Bangkok, in Thailand, for a couple of weeks. Come back, go straight to Pittsburgh for a talk, and then I don't know where from there. I'm planning on LA for a few weeks at least, and then spring training. So.
Wow. So if you're not crushing the West Elm catalog and smashing Pottery Barn outlets, right, and you allow yourself to be free, right, look at that. It's an off season. That's a great off season to be able to go and experience life.
Oh my God, man, look out for the ebook on that, 2019 or 20. By that time, I'll have 3 or 4 traveling off seasons under my belt. So, I love it.
Yeah. Why travel? Like, what does that do for you?
Oh, I mean, oh God, geez, that's a good question. I think like part of it is it does serve both a professional and a personal. For me personally, it serves 2 sides. Is like I went to, for example, last year I was gonna speak in Australia, and so I was like, all right, if I'm gonna go to Australia, I'm not gonna go there for 3 days and fly home when I have the time. So I stayed in Australia for 2 weeks, and then I went to New Zealand for 3, something like that. And I visited 4 Olympic training centers. And so I got to connect with people on the other side of the planet who are doing something completely different than the U.S. Like such an eye-opening experience. I learned so much from that experience, like learning the ins and outs of how they function in Australia and a lot of like how they work in the UK as well. And just how the entire culture surrounding sport was so different. Yeah. So I learned so much. At the same time, I got to be kind of a tourist and went to St. Kilda Beach in Australia and like got to see those things. New Zealand, Sam heard me talk about it for 30 minutes yesterday, so I won't go into it. But got to go to New Zealand on the way back, and like I went to another conference in New Zealand that I didn't speak at that I knew was going on, and then I ended up meeting like an advisor who still might be my advisor for my PhD there, and like just learned so much on the professional side. But then at the same time, I'm like, oh, let me just go to the Bay of Islands. And if you don't know what the Bay of Islands is, well, it's a Bay of Islands. And magical. But it was magical. And let me just do a like trip to Fiordland and like in the midst of all this stuff. So it just, if anything, if I had to put one word to it, it's learning. Yeah. Opening your mind to different cultures, to different languages, different types of people, different, who knew, like you just assume strength and conditioning is strength and conditioning. Not even close. Mm-hmm. It is completely different in Australia and the UK. Like such a different culture. So learning about that, being humbled by that, because I'm like, God, it made me realize some weaknesses that I had.
Oh, wow.
So I think it's just a general concept. Why do you travel the world? Why do you do anything? It's really just to, I never want to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. And so the more I can expose myself to my own weaknesses, personally, professionally, emotionally, what it's like to roll up to a hostel. Like I stayed in a hostel in Australia and with 6 other girls in a room, and I was 30 or I was 29 and the rest of the girls were like 21. And you know, what does staying in a hostel feel like? Like your stuff's chilling and you're like, is someone gonna steal my stuff?
Yeah.
And am I gonna?
Oh, you didn't know these other 6 girls?
No, nope. You're in a room with 6 people you don't know, so hang with them. And ended up being really nice girls. Had dinner with them one night, like just traveling with 3 suitcases, coming home to your apartment and going, what the hell do I have all this stuff for?
Yeah.
Like it's realizing, you know, how much wealth and how much enjoyment there is in just the simple act of learning, the simple act of growing, and being exposed, like I said, to other cultures where, I mean, I traveled to the Dominican Republic on a regular basis, and look, I never, ever get used to seeing 12-year-old, 14-year-old girls hanging out on a sidewalk at 10 p.m. You know, what are they doing there?
Right.
So I never get used to that. I always look at that and go, God, I have such an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
I am a woman. I have 2 college degrees. I was able to play sports in college and get a scholarship. I'm able to be free in my country. You know, like I'm able to like freely do things.
Yeah.
I'm safer. Like I have all these opportunities. And that young girl who's 14, what does her future look like? Does she get to have 2 college degrees? Does she get to do this stuff? And so like being exposed just again to other things than your suburban lifestyle in the U.S. And I don't care where you live. You're living a cush life.
Right.
Okay. Just so you know, like I don't care what you're doing, where you live. You're living a pretty cush life compared to a lot of parts of the world.
Even when you got $14 in your bank account.
Seriously, like at the poorest of poor, I still had a car and in an apartment, and I really wasn't I wasn't homeless. I wasn't living on the street, and you know I wasn't. It's like, come on, man.
You were able to call your mom and dad, ask for some help.
Yeah. When I even though I avoid that at all costs, but like at the time, really, I was like, I can't. I just got hired to do this job, and I can't get there right now.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna reimburse me later for this, but I really, literally couldn't get there if I wanted to. So, yeah, and I was already like maxed out on my credit card and all that stuff too at that time. So I mean, exposing why travel. I mean, several reasons makes my life. I've simplified my life times 10 since I started doing major traveling trips where I would kind of like rough it and have 3 suitcases and sleep in a hostel Airbnb for $20. That doesn't look very good either. Like,
right.
You know, I slept in a tent. I Airbnb'd a tent last year on my trip, and I just
you can Airbnb a tent?
Oh my God,
like in someone's house? Like in my, like I can put a
It's
tent.
on their, yes.
Like, okay.
Yes.
I was going to make a pun, but it's like we could pitch a tent in my front yard together and I can rent it to you.
Yes.
Yes.
You can. Yeah. No, you absolutely can. Oh my God. And it was amazing. I stayed in a tent. It was a tent in Hawaii, and it was amazing. It was probably my favorite Airbnb I've ever used.
What?
Oh, I wish I knew that I would like give a plug for this guy. Like he has a tent. He has a giant property.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember like the name of the guy, but it's on Kauai, and Kauai is extremely expensive. And so I was like, I got in early for a conference I was going to, the XPT Life conference, and I was like, even the tent that was like $50, right? It wasn't even a cheap tent. And I was like, oh God, what's this gonna be like? And I laid down in bed, and it was like the stars, you know, it was like the stars, and you could hear the waves crashing, and like there's a lot of roosters on Kauai, so there's like roosters in the distance. And I was like, this is the best Airbnb I've ever been in, and it's a tent.
That's awesome.
Could you be in a better spot? No. So yeah, like just bottom line, traveling in the way that I've chosen to travel, simplify my life times 10, being uncomfortable to the max, you know, sleeping on the airport floors, Airbnbs, hostels. You know, I have this like the saying like, but did you die? I like literally say that to myself in my head. I'm like, okay, well, gonna be in this hostel, could get stabbed tonight. I'm not sure, but did you die? And I wake up the next morning and you don't die, and you're like, oh, I'm such a baby. I'm fine. And then you go home and you have your three suitcases for 3 months. And I'm talking about, I'm in climates like Nebraska, and I'm in climates like Australia and like extreme heat, extreme snow, cold. I pack everything in 3 suitcases.
Wow.
Heels for conferences. I've got 1 pair of heels that I wear for everything. You know, I've got like 1 blazer. I've got like, you know, you just pack lightly and you go home to your apartment and you're like, well, not only am I a baby, but I'm also like living this lavish lifestyle, even though it doesn't seem lavish because we're in a first world country and everyone's rich here.
Right.
It doesn't seem lavish, but I'm exposed to so many different cultures, so many different things. Like I know that I have way more things than I need. And if it's just like less noise, you know, get rid of it. Less noise, less decisions. I work in an entertainment industry around a lot of wealthy people all the time, but that doesn't mean that I have to be affected by that and go, okay, I'm literally working with players all the time who have millions of dollars. Like
13-year-old kids, like 13-year-old Latin kids.
Well, I mean, 13's a little, but maybe someday,
16.
God. 16-year-old kids who have millions of dollars, but also like the big league guys that I work with in spring training or whatever it might be, like lavish lifestyles. I'm working in entertainment industry, but that's not my passion.
Right.
That's not where I want to go. I don't have to compete with these people, and I don't want to. Frankly, it's not what I want in my life anyway. So like getting rid of the stuff and getting rid of the extra, you know, clothes I don't need or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's taught me so much. It's the only way I want to live, really.
That's amazing. I mean, and it like all of that's taught so much perspective in terms of who you are today, you know, setting up and putting yourself out there to be a resource on RachelBakovec.com, to starting Virtual Handshake, because these are lessons that you've learned and had the opportunity to be exposed to.
Yeah, and it's funny you just said that, and I'm like, oh, you don't need money and you don't need all this in it, but I'm like starting a Virtual Handshake Academy to help people get into careers, seemingly so to have this great career with all this money. Right. But that's not what it's about. No. It's literally just like to tag on it. Yeah. It's about optimizing your life and whatever that might be, doing it to the fullest, being at the top of your game, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. Even if that's a stay-at-home mom, it's completely different than what I'm doing. Like, optimize it. Be the fucking best. Mm-hmm. You know, like, be the best in the world at what you want to do. Mentally, physically, spiritually, be all of that. And so the Virtual Handshake Academy is not about getting you money. It's not even really about getting you a career. It's about just giving you a step to, like, progress your life. Right. To like, expand your mind and give you an opportunity. I talk about it in the course, like, working different places, going across the world, etc. Like just expanding your mind. So it's not about getting the money. It's about just fulfilling yourself, whatever that means.
For sure. And it's like, I mean, I think that's a really important, I mean, that's enrichment as well. I mean, we talked last night about, you know, I work on it and I've got a cool gig, and you're like, what the fuck do you do? and she's like, no, really, what do you do?
Sam doesn't even really work here.
I don't actually work here. This is all fake. But it's like, you know, it must seem really great. And I love my job, don't get me wrong, but it's also, this is like my 5th weekend in a row of working. And then when I look at your life, it's like, yeah, you have this great opportunity, but then you also, there's an off season and you get to take off and go traveling. And that's like, wow, I want that. And that's how I felt when I left Portland, was like, I'm from the Northwest. I never left the Northwest. I went, you know, I'm in a career that like I don't see it a long term in, so I just need to bail. And so moving to Austin so far has been that you know, moving experience, that traveling experience. And I'm okay traveled, like not globally, in the U.S. pretty well, but then a few places here and there. But I think providing you, like, even if our friendship never turns anything financial and anything that we ever do in life, right, it's worth it because of getting to know you and being able to support each other, because we've been through very similar journeys in terms of who we are and what we're doing. And that's all the only thing there ever needs to be, right? Yeah. And, you know, the Virtual Handshake is really what we did, right? Skype call, and then it was like, oh man, I'm gonna book this trip to Austin to go do this seminar from a company I don't really know anything about, to hang out with this guy that sent me an email, right? And then it turned out, and then it's like, oh, I call you again, Rachel, I'm gonna bring this group of ladies together to come hang out. If you can make it, that'd be awesome.
No brainer.
And it's like, then all of a sudden you're here, and now it's like progressively each and every time, like we have more cool shit to be able to talk about, work on, help support Virtual Handshake, and you're supporting us being on the podcast. And that's what this is really all about.
It's about growing not only yourself, obviously, but others. I talked about at the beginning, but it's like my whole business is directed at the empowerment of other people. And so I travel for myself, probably, like that's my self-fulfillment, but the business side of things for you as well is like you want to elevate specifically like young people, but also like elevate the field. Yeah. Elevate the things that are going on in the field and having an external focus, and like that's the whole way you approach people is like, how can we help you? Yeah. And so that's the whole like end game is just, it's really just progression in general, and it doesn't have to have an end goal in mind at the start of it. It doesn't have to.
Yeah, we don't have an end goal. Our end goal is to keep.
I know. What are we
playing.
gonna do? We're gonna
go on a trip together.
We're gonna move to New Zealand together.
The New Zealand thing is hot. That's been a hot topic this weekend.
Oh my god.
So
don't get me going.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about a lot of different great nuggets, and there's a few clips that we'll have to pull out, Ryan. I think that are awesome. Ryan's the producer, guys. You can't see him, but he's sitting in the room with us. And I'm gonna ask you a super shitty, arbitrary question, but what is a piece of advice you would like a brand new college grad, brand new trainer, anyone looking to get into the fitness industry to know? What's a nugget that you want to give them?
Okay, I have like a series of videos coming out that I'm gonna put on the Virtual Handshake Academy website, but I have like 6 laws that I think people are afraid to follow. I'll just touch on 2 of them because it could be another long conversation, but to the 2 that I think are kind of summarize could help both things is everything is number 1 is fuck money. Okay. And that goes like right now, that's kind of how I'm like trying to live my life anyway, but especially like as a young professional getting into the field, do not chase the job that's going to get you the most money. Mm-hmm. Chase the job that is going to push you the most. Mm-hmm. And usually the jobs that are going to push you the most are the most high level jobs. And usually those high level jobs aren't going to pay you shit. Right. Because those high level jobs have high level thinkers working for them. And guess what? No matter how high level thinker you are as a 22-year-old, you ain't as high level as those people. Right. So just like you might be a very mature, hardworking person, but like if you want to be at a high level place where they are literally on the cutting edge, you should expect to work for free. So fuck money. Like be broke. Be broke. Because at the end of the day, again, like you're going to at some point, hopefully it took me to like age 27 or 28 to really start the cleansing of like not needing the physical things and all that stuff. But like everyone's going to come full circle to that, because whether it's at the age of 26 or on your deathbed, you're going to go, what's important to me? And I don't think anyone says money, right? There's so many statistics on like what makes you happy, your relationships, all this, and we just ignore all that shit. We say, no. I know that everyone says when they die, like, okay, relationships are important and money, but I'm gonna chase money so hard, you know? So as long as you can eat and like have a roof over your head, don't chase money. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is no chihuahuas. Let me explain. So I don't have anything against the actual dog, but the people that you have in your life need to be like gold retrievers, right? Like they need to like be loyal as fuck and provide some kind of like at least emotional or mental value to you. Yeah. Like you can't have people in your life that you have to carry in a purse. So no chihuahuas. Like that is the rule. And that goes for friends, but also romantic relationships, because you might have like great business people and like you're like, yeah, I'm killing it in my career, but then you got this girlfriend or boyfriend who's like you know, like a chihuahua, and they're just like clawing at your leg and like jumping all over you, and like, you know, and they like have a pink bow on their head and they're like, I'm so cute, carry me around in your purse, and you're like, oh, you're getting so heavy though, and like I don't want to carry you on a plane and you're dragging me down. So like no chihuahuas, and that's like a metaphor for your tribe needs to be so fucking solid. And I mean, this sounds heartless, but it even goes for family. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're a young person, it's not your job to carry around your sister, your brother, your mother, your father. If you choose to do that and you want to own that, that's fine. I completely understand when people make those decisions. But at the end of the day, like, I would even say no, kind of like you need to be selfish in some ways, so that down the line maybe you're able to care for people better. But if you're going for that big, ridiculous, euphoric goal, you can't carry around a chihuahua in your purse. You just can't.
I love it. That's great. That's great. And even the dog too. No offense. But where can people find you?
Everywhere. Well, mostly I'm pretty active on Instagram and Twitter. So my handles there are rachel.bakovec for Instagram, and then at Damsel in the Dugout, and that's Damsel NDA Dugout for Twitter. And then also my website is a great place to reach out. And then also I have blogs and some content up there. So rachelbakovec.com. And pretty soon here. If not already, by the time this launches, I'll have Virtual Handshake Academy up and running. Lots of free content, lots of free videos there, resume template, and then the course will be launched by the end of October. So the course is about 6 to 8 videos, depending on what you get, just on everything we just talked about, how to get in, how to say no to money, say no to chihuahuas. Yeah. All of those things are in there.
Yeah, I love it.
And then also just, the important part about that too is to know that 25% of the proceeds from that are going to go to a scholarship to go back to young professionals as well. So virtualhandshakeacademy.com is where you can find a lot more information about career stuff.
That's awesome. Very cool. Look forward to watching your success, and I very much appreciate you hanging out with us today.
Oh, I appreciate you too.
Thank you.
Thanks again for listening to the Fitness Break Room podcast, everybody. You can follow us on Instagram at Fitness Break Room. And if you're looking to enter our monthly fitness swag giveaway, you can visit our website, fitnessbreakroom.com, and all that info's on the homepage. Hundreds of dollars worth of awesome stuff, so I wouldn't miss that. And then you can even subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and leave us a review if you're digging what we're bringing you. That would be awesome and very helpful. Okay, guys, have a beautiful week. Stay strong and always look out for the little guy.
I search the skies